play it any louder, then it's getting shut down.
My name is Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and this is the last 24 hours in the news. Today is October 4th, 2025. It is 11:12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Here are the top U.S. news highlights for the past 24 hours. Federal judge temporarily blocked the administration's plan to federalize 200 Oregon National Guard troops for deployment to Portland. The judge found the administration's public depiction of Portland as war-ravaged lacked factual support and enjoined the deployment while the legal challenge proceeds. The White House said it will appeal. Ongoing litigation tied to administration personnel actions remains active. Courts have been hearing multiple suits over mass probationary firings and agency reorganizations. At least one prior ruling found mass probationary firings unlawful, and those cases continue to proceed through appeals and related motions. FBI severs a working relationship with the Southern Poverty Law Center. That decision affects information sharing with major civil rights monitoring group that many law enforcement agencies use to track extremist groups, a shift that could alter domestic extremism tracking channels. Administration trade policy sweeping tariff posture remains in place, and earlier tariff announcements continue to reverberate. The high-profile tariff package, including previously announced steep duties on certain imports, continues to be a material policy tool and a source of market and diplomatic friction. Justice Department reorganization, a task force that targeted cartels and some civil rights offices are being closed. Documents seen by reporters indicate DOJ is closing a task force that focused on major cartel prosecutions as part of a broader reorganization. Critics warn enforcement capacity and civil rights mediation could be weakened. Recent tariff actions and threats of new tariffs continue to present an immediate consumer risk, especially for pharmaceuticals, heavy equipment, and household goods that were singled out in recent announcements. Tariff diplomacy and trade actions continue to drive foreign pushback and market responses. Trading partners and exporters affected by the tariff measures are seeking clarifications or exemptions. These disputes have both diplomatic and domestic economic implications. Today, Oregon and Portland's challenged successfully obtained a temporary court injunction blocking the federalization of 200 Guard troops to Portland. The judge's order was issued today. That is a direct legal check on a major administration action. Litigation over the administration's personnel moves, mass probationary firings, and agency reorganizations continues in multiple courts. Prior rulings mid-September found unlawful conduct in the mass firing program and remain in appellate circulation. Appeals or immediate emergency motions in the Oregon Guard case, White House appealing the injunction. These are things to keep an eye on. Local protest activity and law enforcement posture in Portland and other cities where federal forces have been signed. Protests could prompt tactical police agency mobilizations. Operational impacts from DOJ reorganization, cartel enforcement, and civil rights offices. Watch for congressional oversight letters, DOJ briefs, or disruption in ongoing investigations. Tariff implementation details and exemption filings. Importers and partner governments may file for carve-outs or challenge the measures with near-term effects on prices and supply chains. Changes to extremist information flows after the FBI SPLC separation. Watch whether local law enforcement reporting and prosecutions are affected. And here are the recent economic developments for the past 24 hours. Trump sets 10% tariff on lumber, higher rates later on furniture and wood goods. The administration announced a 10% tariff on softwood lumber imports now, with plans to raise to 25% on furniture, cabinets, and related wood products starting January 2026. ISM Services PMI weakens in September. The Institute for Supply Management's Services/Community Sector Index dropped to 50 in September, down from 52 in August. New orders contracted sharply. De minimis tariff, that's the one that makes it so that we can't send packages between nations without it being a pain in the ass, because a lot of countries are not delivering mail because they don't know what the fuck to do because of Trump's tariff. De minimis tariff exemption ends abruptly. E-commerce shaken. The removal of the de minimis customs exemption for imports under $800 has disrupted e-commerce flows. With higher duties becoming immediate, small sellers are scrambling to absorb costs or restructure pricing. Senator Wyden publicly criticized the move. Markets hit highs despite economic uncertainty. There was no market activity today. Slotting in tariff schedules under review. A Reuters story published a detailed schedule of upcoming tariff deadlines, scheduled reviews, and contested tariff measures that may kick in or be litigated in the coming months. Auto sector tariff offsets in the works. Sources say the administration is considering tariff relief or offsets for autos and engines manufactured in the U.S. to mitigate import penalties that may provide relief to domestic auto plants and incentivize onshore production. And remember, kids, the stock market is not the economy. Just because the S&P 500 or Dow Jones might be performing does not mean that wages are growing, jobs are secure, inflation is under control, or that people are thriving. And here are the top hazardous weather outlook for the next few days. This is the upcoming hazardous weather. Southwest and Four Corners, heavy rain and flash flood risk. Monsoon activity remains active, bringing thunderstorms capable of producing localized flash flooding and urban runoff. Areas in Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of western Texas are especially vulnerable. Potential tropical interaction, the tropical wave AL94 and nearby Hurricane Humberto may influence moisture patterns. Forecasters note the possibility of enhanced rainfall in the southeast or along the Atlantic corridor, depending on system paths. Plains, central U.S., and Midwest, scattered storm chances, low to severe risk, or low severe risk. It's low risk. The frontal zone may trigger thunderstorms across the plains and Midwest, especially during afternoon and evening, but severe weather risk is modest. Heavier rain possible in clusters where storm clusters or linger. Localized heavy downpours could produce minor flooding, especially in low-lying or poorly drained areas. East, southeast, and Gulf Coast, afternoon evening storms. The southeast and Gulf Coast will see typical convective activity with bursts of rain and gusty winds. Some cells may produce intense rain, risking localized flooding. Coastal hazards, onshore flow increases the risk of rip currents, rough surf, and minor coastal flooding in vulnerable zones, especially if storms interact with coastal systems. Rockies and Intermountain West, mountain storms, and localized flooding. Higher terrain zones may see daily storms with heavy rainfall, gusts, and possible flash flooding. I pushed the wrong button. And urban runoff. Areas in... Wait, is this the right one? Okay, here we go. Possible flash flooding. This is for Rockies and Intermountain West in steep drainage areas, especially near burn scars. Cooling trend later in the period as frontal systems move through cooler air and precipitation chances shift eastward, reducing storm intensity inland. Western U.S. and Pacific Northwest, spotty precipitation. The Pacific Northwest Cascades and parts of West Interior may see moderate showers and mountain storms. Heat and fire concerns in the interior and southwest. Persistent dry conditions and heat persist, raising fire weather risk, especially where fuels are dry. And here are the top international news highlights for the past 24 hours. Japan likely to get first female prime minister. Sanae Takaichi won the leadership race of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party and is positioned to become the country's first female prime minister. The win is consequential for Japan's domestic direction and foreign policy. China provides intelligence to Russia in Ukraine war. China provides intelligence to Russia in Ukraine war. Ukrainian intelligence agencies report that China is supplying satellite or reconnaissance intelligence to Russia to improve Russian target selection for missile strikes in Ukraine. Border Patrol agents shoot armed woman amid Chicago protests. Federal agents shot a woman in Chicago after confrontations between immigration protesters and ICE/Border Patrol. If they're Border Patrol, why the fuck are they inland in fucking Chicago? The woman, a U.S. citizen, drove herself to the hospital. No officers were seriously injured. Judge blocks Trump's planned National Guard deployment to Portland. A federal judge temporarily barred President Trump from deploying 200 National Guard troops to Portland, citing a lack of factual justification and possible constitutional overreach. The block is in place until at least October 18th. Trump says Israel agreed to an initial withdrawal line in Gaza. Trump announced that Israel has agreed to withdraw a boundary inside Gaza and said that once Hamas confirms an immediate ceasefire and prisoner exchange would begin. This comes amid a broader ceasefire following Hamas's signal that they accept parts of his 20-point peace plan. So essentially they're saying to release the hostages and calling for a ceasefire. Yeah, we'll see if that happens. Magnitude 6 earthquake strikes east coast of Honshu, Japan. A magnitude 6 quake struck near Japan's Honshu east coast with depth of 10 kilometers. No immediate reports of widespread damage, but the event underscores continued seismic risk in the region. This concludes today's news. Everybody stay safe out there. We will see you later.
So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup too. And it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. I got both of them. I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. And I said, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So, Johnny, thank you for the World Cup, and everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment to my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, because MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA, abolish MAGA, fuck you MAGA.